good words. Now I want to turn to my good friend, Congressman Sean Duffy from Wisconsin, outspoken man of the House who has not been afraid to confront as well the various problems facing humanity, the assaults on human dignity as they've manifested themselves and fractured our society and so many others in so many ways. So I thank you, Congressman Duffy.
I appreciate the gentleman yielding, and I'm grateful for all of your work, Congressman Fortenberry and Congressman Vargas and Ashu. Sometimes people look at this House and think that all we do is fight and disagree, not to talk about you two punching each other to get a little more press. But it's a remarkable night when we all come together and stand together on such an important issue such as this, where we all lend our voices to an incredibly important cause. We spent a lot of time tonight talking about the atrocities, and I'm going to join in because I think we can't say it enough, all that's happened. 2 million Christians called Iraq home prior to 2013. Fewer than 300,000 reside there today. Many were victims of killing or kidnappings, others forced to leave their homes by radicals, Al-Qaeda or ISIS. In Syria, Christians accounted for 10% of the population, but today their numbers have declined to less than 1 million. Last summer, ISIS kidnapped nearly 300 Christians in a Syrian village and then later ransomed them back to their families for an average of $100,000 per person. When ISIS invaded Mosul, Iraq in 2014, as Mr. Fortenberry mentioned, they tagged Christian homes with an N for Nazarene, and then they gave the occupants a choice. You could convert, you could flee, or you would face death. In July of 2014, ISIS announced that the city, no doubt, was Christian-free. No surprise. In 2014, August, a woman from Bartella, Iraq, recounted the night that ISIS came into her village and then into her home and accused her of putting gold coins in her 11-month baby's diaper. And so they took her baby, threw her baby on the couch, beat her baby, threw it up against the wall. Eventually they let her leave, but they kept her husband and made him convert. In February of 2015, ISIS slaughtered 21 Coptic Christians on a Libyan beach, pointing them towards Rome, and proclaimed this message, quote, "Signed with blood to the nation of the cross," end quote. In March of 2016, this month, 4 nuns, members of the Missionaries of Charity, founded by the late Mother Teresa of Calcutta, were executed by gunmen in Yemen. Their crime? They were caring for elderly and the disabled. Pope Francis called them today's martyrs. And just yesterday, gunmen stormed 3 hotels in the Ivory Coast. Among the 18 people who were killed, a 5-year-old boy was shot in the head. But eyewitnesses report that the friend who was with him was spared his life because he was able to recite a Muslim prayer. Mr. Speaker, these are hardly isolated incidents. As we've talked about tonight, this is genocide. The Knights of Columbus submitted a 280-page report chronicling the persecution of Christians by the Islamic State to the State Department this week. The leader of ISIS recently released a video that made very clear their intent to destroy Christians throughout whatever means possible. He said, quote, "The coexistence of Christians and Jews is impossible according to the Quran." And so I don't think we have to scratch our heads and ask ourselves what's happening in Iraq and Syria. Pope Francis recently condemned the wholesale slaughter of Christians by ISIS, saying the entire Christian families and villages are being completely exterminated. I look at this House tonight and I'm proud that we have so many men and women who are willing to stand up and lend their voice to this great cause. We have a reputation in America as being a beacon of light. Men and women who stand up for freedom, better known as freedom fighters, freedom of life, freedom of religion. And when there are atrocities in the world, we stand up and lend a voice to those who are being persecuted, those who are downtrodden. I'm disappointed that the President has been unwilling to join this House and call the atrocities in Syria and Iraq a genocide. the first step to making sure this ends is that we speak the truth about what's actually happening. And hopefully, if the president's watching tonight, he'll see that we have both Republicans and Democrats who agree on this very important issue. And hopefully, he'll join us and take that first step to shedding light on what's happening in Iraq and Syria. And so, Mr. Fortenberry, I commend you for your good efforts on this very important issue, and I'm proud to stand with you and the rest of this chamber and make sure those who might not know that people care about them as they're going through pain and anguish. We hear about the sex slaves, young little girls who are held captive, little Christian and Yazidi girls, that they know that people hear them, people care about them, and people are doing here in America all we can to help them out of this crisis. So thank you for